It's not terribly complicated, but it kind of uh, confuses students. You're going to set it up in a very simple way. Here is this, here is this. For that cross rate to be right, the following has to be true. You're going to write that following, solve for what I don't know. Done. That's it. Again, it's a mathematical way of thinking about it. In this case, we're always going to do things where we don't know only one thing, but there's no reason why I could not extend this to not knowing multiple things. I'm not, maybe in Finance 301, we may need something like that, but in this class, we won't. But the same sort of thinking is going to apply to that. If I can write the equations, I'm going to let some sort of black box work in the, background. I mean, if you want to see the way that works, let's see, only on this workbook. This is the extent of that code. This declares address for the unknown. Let me see. If the item in the what I call diff address is an error, exits without doing anything, figures out what that is. If it's in setup mode, if it's less than 0, it's in setup mode. Don't do anything because I don't want it to solve anything. Otherwise, if the unknown as the current variable are different, this little thing changes the color. Do that. Otherwise, I'm setting a max number of iterations, and that's your tolerance. This is the Excel code, VBA code to do the goal seek. Okay. That's my target. Do goal seek, set it equal to 0 by changing that. I could have left it just that, but you have to allow for user error. That's why those extra lines. Except that line, the rest of it is essentially bookkeeping. It's not terribly complicated, but we can do it. This is by changing the colors, changing the stoplights. If it's -1, make it 0. If it's 0, make it 1. Otherwise, make it -1. So I'm changing between those. And I'm going to show you guys how to make those traffic lights. But when you double click, all that happens. And this says, if anything in the worksheet changes and it is inside the kind of things I say I defined in solver changes, do the goal seek. So whenever I change one of the other unknowns, it automatically solves it because it's watching. Something is going to change in that worksheet. If the cell that changed is defined by that solver changes, and I'm going to teach you guys how to name different ranges, do it. And this is the double click thing. It says do something before double click. Okay. Again, there's a target. If the target in this case is solver lights, it's a collection of cells I named solver lights. If one of those changes, do all of that. Done. If the solver setup mode, it's a little bit different than the other one, but no problem. That's basically the extent of the code. Coloring solver variable. I didn't even write this. There is something called recording a macro in Excel. You do take certain actions, you record it. It basically generates the code. Every once in a while, you have to change a few things here and there, and that's it. Adding new input row, new option row, copy active sheet after itself. Those are the codes. I mean, I have some bonus functions which are going to be useful for my Finance 301 class. For example, there is something that calculates present value of a growing annuity. Okay, there is something that calculates future value of a growing annuity. That's all you need to know. Your function is there. I mean, Excel has a function that calculates the present and future value of a standard annuity that may or may not have a balloon payment. This is just slightly different. Payments are not constant, but they grow at a constant rate. And that has a lot of applications. When you're doing valuation of stocks, a lot of times it is some sort of growing annuity plus some terminal value. That's all you need. It makes things easier. I'm going to actually give you this without, all you have to do in the seeker, add a new one. I left this blank. You can do anything you want with it. You create one. The reason I left that, I want those 3 actions over there. In a lot of cases, I work with full screen. If I need to zoom out, zoom in, this does an increments of 5 points. Or I forgot where I was. I want to go back to that sheet. And you don't remember where you were. I mean, you came to this sheet, but sometimes you want to go back. That's it, done. Again, that's a very simple code. Let me show you that. New code. Under the workbook code, you put this. When in a workbook, if a sheet is deactivated, what are you going to do? I created a saved variable called last sheet. The name of the sheet that I'm deactivating is going to be saved on that string, okay? And let me see. No, I think it's here. Let's find it. Select last. That's the code behind that U-turn sign. If that last sheet is blank, when you first come in, you haven't been anywhere yet, so that's going to be blank. Don't do anything, just get out. Otherwise, go find that last sheet, activate that last sheet, done. These are very simple things, but very useful stuff, okay? So when you're doing complicated stuff, a lot of times you navigate with arrows, you go from one sheet to another. 15 minutes into work in that sheet, you forgot where you were, but you want to go back. You don't have to remember. Let Excel remember it for you. That's why I made this available. Otherwise, it's extra. If I'm on Hypersphere, go back to where I was. For today, let's stop here. Did you guys get your books from the bookstore? They said there may have been an issue. They sent me a link for the online version. I haven't set that up yet. You're not going to need the book until next week anyway. I'll set that up either tomorrow or Thursday. Basically, come to class next Monday having read chapter 1 and 2. Okay? And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff in there and why international finance should be a separate class. Otherwise, it's just finance, right? But things are not that simple, and we'll talk about those. We'll talk about basically history of money, different forms of money, and we'll do a brief history of different monetary standards, going from the little beans to gold, silver, and paper money, and so on and so forth. Okay, and we'll get an. Let me actually, since I have time, let me add on this blank sheet. Let me delete this one. Let's add one. A lot of times we're going to work with exchange rates, and we're going to want to know live exchange rates. Instead of going back to the website all the time, let's find a website where we like that has some major exchange rates. Let's see. How about this?